Okay, let's unpack this. AI, I mean, it just keeps evolving so quickly, and it's hitting everything, right? From, big national security questions down to just how we use our devices every day.
It really is moving at breakneck speed.
Yeah.
Hard to keep up sometimes.
Totally. So today we're doing a deep dive, focusing specifically on some really recent, kind of eye-opening developments. This is all based on the source material you shared with us. Our goal here, just to cut through the noise, give you a clear, quick take on these key shifts happening in AI, like right now.
Sounds good. There's definitely a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we've got a pretty fascinating mix. We'll look at some maybe unexpected uses of AI by state actors, and then we'll shift over to new AI tools being built specifically for defense. And finally, we'll dig into how the rules are changing around AI actually using online content.
And that ethical thread you mentioned,
Hmm.
it seems to pop up in all of these areas, doesn't it?
It really does. You'll see some surprising connections, maybe a few aha moments there. What's really striking, I think, is how these different stories, they're not really separate issues. They're all kind of tangled together.
Absolutely. They highlight these critical challenges, but also opportunities, I suppose, in AI right now, all interconnected.
Couldn't agree more. So let's jump into that first big piece from the sources. The OpenAI news. Exposing Chinese groups using ChatGPT in some, well, concerning ways.
Right, and the sources were quite specific, weren't they? It wasn't just generic misuse. They really detailed how.
Right.
We're talking about taking a tool that, lots of us use for work or creativity
Yeah, everyday stuff.
and basically weaponizing it. The reports mention cyber operations, propaganda, disinformation campaigns.
And the examples they gave were pretty vivid. Makes it very real. Things like using AI to help craft fake online identities.
Right, persona.
Generating content, pushing specific narratives, say on tariffs or Taiwan, sensitive stuff.
And even, the sources said, actually assisting with cyberattacks themselves. It really paints a picture of twisting a general-purpose tool.
That twisting, that's something else entirely, that's the core of it, I think.
Exactly. The sources really hit that point hard. This isn't just, theory. It's not just playing around with text. It's taking something powerful and productive and, as one source put it, kind of turning it into a digital soldier for covert ops.
That's a powerful analogy, digital soldier. It really underscores that dual-use potential, doesn't it?
In a really stark way, yeah. Tools made to be helpful, widely available. But they have this potential dark side when bad actors get hold of them.
So thinking about you listening, why does this matter? Why should you care about this specific development?
Well, it highlights this massive challenge, doesn't it? How do you control access? How do you prevent misuse of powerful AI globally?
Yeah, it's huge.
And seeing specific cases like this, it puts pressure on the AI labs, on governments. It can definitely fuel calls for, more serious international talks, maybe even stricter controls on who gets the most advanced AI.
Especially in those tense geopolitical areas. And it throws that ethical dimension right out front immediately.
Definitely. Which, interestingly, connects to the next point from the sources. AI development's happening more openly, but still with big implications.
Right, the defense side. Anthropic, for instance. They announced they're launching custom AI models.
Yes. And the purpose here is, well, quite different on the surface from the misuse case. These are specifically tailored for U.S. national security clients. The aim, according to the reports, is boosting defense and intelligence capabilities.
So the sources mentioned these models are built for secure, high-stakes environments. You can imagine like helping analysts process huge amounts of intel faster.
Or optimizing complex military logistics, maybe, things like that.
Yeah, specialized tools for really specific, critical government jobs.
And what's interesting here is how it points to this growing trend, maybe an accelerating one. Major AI companies getting more involved, partnering directly with governments on defense and security.
The source used that analogy, giving the government a specialized AI toolkit, custom built for their needs, their security constraints.
Exactly. And the why it matters part here, according to the sources, is kind of two-sided. On one hand, it's presented as, okay, this strengthens national security using cutting-edge tech.
That makes sense.
But on the other hand, it directly feeds into those big debates about the militarization of AI. Where do we draw the line? How far does this go?
And it also positions companies like Anthropic very clearly in the defense space, right? That could shake up the competitive dynamics among AI developers.
Absolutely. So for you listening, this really shifts the understanding of AI's role. It's not just consumer gadgets or business tools anymore. The sources make it clear. It's becoming fundamental to state power and global security dynamics.
Okay, let's shift gears again slightly. A different kind of development covered in the sources, but one that hits the foundation of AI. The data pipeline, the X, formerly Twitter, updated its terms of service. And it's a pretty significant change.
It really is. The chord changed.
Yeah.
X is now explicitly saying no. No using our content to train your AI model.
Yeah.
For a major platform, well, that's putting the brakes on a very common industry practice.
And the reasons they stated, according to the sources, it seems focused on protecting user data, privacy concerns, ethics.
Which makes sense, especially with things like, Reddit reportedly facing lawsuits over data scraping for AI training. That whole issue of consent and compensation.
Yeah, that's been bubbling up.
So this feels like a real pushback, a stand against how AI developers have maybe somewhat freely used public web data in the past. The source material described it well, like X, putting up a big no trespassing sign for AI developers.
It's interesting, though, because there's a tension there, isn't there? The sources pointed this out. While it addresses those valid privacy and ethical points, some worry it could actually slow down certain kinds of AI innovation if you restrict access to these huge, diverse data sets like X's content.
That's the core tension. Innovation speed versus user rights and control.
And the why it matters here, according to the sources, is pretty substantial.
Yeah, huge potential impact.
A platform as big as X doing this, it could absolutely set a precedent. You might see other social media platforms, other online services you use, follow suit.
Which would force AI companies to completely rethink their data sourcing strategies. Maybe look at licensing deals or different kinds of data altogether.
It really pushes that growing conflict, AI progress versus user rights, data ownership, privacy, consent, right into the spotlight.
And that debate is only getting louder, I think.
So we've got these three sort of distinct stories. AI misused for cyber ops, AI built for defense, a platform locking down its data. But what's striking is how they all seem to orbit these central questions of control, usage, and ethics in AI.
And maybe it's not surprising then. The sources noted #AI ethics has been trending on X. People are reacting online, specifically to things like X's ban and those reports about ChatGPT misuse in China.
Right. It shows these aren't just isolated incidents in the public mind. They're sparking a broader conversation.
Yeah, the source even pulled out a specific user quote that kind of sums it up. AI ethics can't keep up with AI's speed exit. X's move is a start, but what about global misuse?
That quote really nails it, doesn't it? The speed, the feeling of lagging behind on the rules, the global scale of the problem.
It perfectly captures that mixed feeling the sources described online. You see some praise, like good on X for protecting privacy.
A necessary step, maybe.
But then there's real anxiety about the misuse cases, the cyber attacks, and this feeling that maybe the broader ethical frameworks just aren't there yet or aren't being enforced.
And the sources kept coming back to this point. Ethical AI isn't just some academic thing anymore.
Not at all.
It's becoming the critical issue. It's shaping the immediate future of AI.
And without clear guidelines, clear boundaries, maybe clear consequences, the risk is that misuse could really damage public trust.
Which could hold back all the potential good uses, too.
Exactly. And for you listening, this isn't abstract. This whole debate, who's in control, how is AI used, what rules apply to its data, it's directly shaping the AI future you're going to be living with every day.
It's definitely a complex picture, moving incredibly fast. Just in this quick deep dive, we've touched on AI being weaponized, AI being built for national security, platforms battling over data, sparking these huge ethical debates.
So given that speed, given these really diverse, sometimes conflicting uses, defense versus disinformation and this scramble for control over data and ethics, it leaves us with a big question, really, for you to think about. Who ultimately is holding the reins on AI's direction globally? And maybe more importantly, how can your understanding, your voice, actually play a part in shaping where this all goes?
A lot to chew on there as these developments keep rolling out. Definitely encourage you to keep exploring, keep thinking critically about all this.